All right, so hopefully everybody's now seeing the Vocat homepage, the main Vocat homepage. Basically a quick rundown of what Vocat is. It's not like what we're doing here on Zoom, which is, synchronous sort of replacement for face-to-face, or as close as you can get. It's for uploading and hosting videos. So if your students are creating presentations or they're creating other video projects, they can upload them and you can assess them. You can also upload your own videos if you want to upload things like lectures or sort of short lessons or even external things that you find elsewhere that are relevant to your course. And you can have students come and interact with those videos. It also accepts audio and images. The huge majority of our use is through video, so I'll kind of focus on that. But you'll see as I go along how the other things work as well. So the Vocat main page is baruch.vocat.io, or the login for Baruch is baruch.vocat.io. Vocat is built out of Baruch, but we do share it with some other CUNY campuses, so that's why we have the separate domain. And then when you log in with your instructor login, or with your Baruch username and password, which is the same thing you use for email and Wi-Fi on campus and campus computers, you'll see this dashboard. So you'll see, if you haven't requested a course, you won't see anything here. It'll prompt you to request a new course. So that's the first step if you want to get up and running, if you haven't requested a course already. And then if you have requested a course, you'll see your course name here. I think it actually might help to start by showing you what the process looks like from a student standpoint, so that you can kind of get an idea of what they will be doing for their assignments and figure out how it might work for your class. So I'm just going to log into a demo student account. So this is what it looks like for a student when they sign in. They see their course listed, and when they click into that, well, this course doesn't have any projects set up, but when they click into a course with project setup, they'll see if there's a thumbnail already on it. It means that something's been uploaded. That can be true if you've uploaded something for everyone to see, or if they are uploading their own project. And if they haven't uploaded anything, there's this prompt that says add media, and it really walks them through the whole process. And so if you're setting up a course, I'll actually send you a handout that you can distribute to students that really walks them through the entire process of logging in and uploading. We don't get too many questions from students because they seem to either just use that handout or figure it out. The question we get the most is that they don't remember their Baruch username and password, which we actually can't help them with anyway. That's through BCTC. But for the most part, they get this right away without too much issue. They know how to record the video on their phone or on whatever device they have, and then it walks them through the process. So when you click that add media button, let's go to one that doesn't have anything. Oh, it'll tell you, if there's nothing there, it'll tell you to add media to the submission. And then it just walks you through what's available. You can either drag and drop from your desktop, or you can use the standard file selector. You can even paste a Vimeo or YouTube URL, which may be especially useful if you are looking to have your students all view the same video, like if there's something that you want them to watch, or especially if there's something that you want them to annotate in some way. So if there's already a video available for them, they can come watch their own video, or if you set it up in the settings, they can watch the other students' videos if you'd like, and annotate that video. And you can also annotate their video. So the annotation feature is really the main thing that Vocat adds to just a regular video hosting site. So as you're watching the video, at any point, you can click into this annotation box here. It automatically pauses the video, and you can make a note to your student, or if your students are annotating each other's videos, they can make notes to each other. And when you post that, it will show up in this stream on the side. And so you'll see that stream as the video plays. It will highlight what the current annotation is. You see it has a timestamp on the side. And as the students watching it back, if there's feedback from either you or from other students, they can click on those things and it takes them directly to that point in the video. So it's a way for them to see exactly what it is that you're giving them feedback about. You can also use that if you're uploading one of your own videos, you can sort of use it as bookmarks. If you say, okay, here at this point in the video, this is where I'm talking about this subject. So you can use it that way and they can sort of watch through and click to the points that are most relevant to them. That's more useful if you're doing like a review session or something like that. So that's sort of the main function of Vocat. There's also the option to comment. So at the bottom of the page with the media on it, the bottom of the project page, there is a discussion section and you can post longer comments. There's no limit on the length of those. You can do some formatting with what's called Markdown. If anybody's interested in doing more formatting, but usually, you can have them post a reaction that's more general, that's not related to a specific point in the video. So it wouldn't really fit in the timestamped annotations. There's also a rubric function. It's not used very heavily. What we actually see it used most often rather than for faculty grading is for peer evaluation or self-evaluation. So if you want your students to grade themselves on how they did, you could set up a very simple rubric and do that. Or if you want everyone in the class to come in and grade and you want to like incorporate that aggregate score from the class into part of the grade, that's the way we see the rubrics used more often than just the faculty members grading. I think because typically the faculty members are already grading in Blackboard or whatever system they're used to, rather than setting up a rubric in Vocat for that. But if you want to do that, that's fine. We can talk about that later. But before we get into sort of the faculty login side of it, does anybody have any questions about the student side, uploading, viewing, annotating, anything like that?
Greg, there was a question in the chat about the size limit for video uploads.
So there's no actual size limit. If you're on a fast enough connection, it should handle pretty much anything. Although we see just anecdotally that over about 2 gigs, there seems to be a higher fail rate. So it's still not particularly high fail rate, but most of the time when somebody comes and they say, oh, I had an error when I was trying to upload, it's because the video is over 2 gigs. So generally, we recommend that if students can change the setting in their camera to scale down the resolution below like Ultra HD, which now is like the default setting on most phones, we recommend that. And if they do end up in that scenario, now that we have Baruch-wide Dropbox, they can actually Dropbox it to me or send it to me via Google Drive or some other method, and I can compress it and get it up. But that only happens maybe, I don't know, 5 times a semester through all of Vocat so far. So hopefully that doesn't come up too much, but there's no real file size limit. And also file type, it tries to handle any file type you can throw at it that's video. So it even proprietary file types from like, I think Olympus cameras for some reason have their own file type, like those should all work. So if we run into a problem with that, let us know and we'll try to get it fixed as soon as possible. And our developer actually tries to add the ability to upload any video file type. Sorry, was there another question?
That was all that I saw in the chat. Anybody have any more questions? Just wave your hand if your video's there, or go ahead and type into the chat window.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and log out of this demo student account and log into a faculty member account so that you can see what it will look like for you. And this is a faculty member, this is a demo faculty member account that has no courses, I think. So it should, oh no, I did set up a course for it, but well, it would help if I have the login. All right, there it is. So when you log in right now, I have just this demo course. If you'd like to request a new course, or if you don't have a course already, you can click request a new course up at the top right side. I'm gonna ask you for just very basic information. When you're entering this information, I would say just try to keep it as accurate to what's in CUNY First as possible. So the name of the course, the department is just the 3-letter department abbreviation. The course number is, whatever it is, 2150, 3100. And then the section ideally we'd get both the letter code that's related to the like time block that your section is running, and also the 5-digit CUNY first identifier, because the CUNY first number is what we use to pull all the roster data. And then the semester is obviously going to be spring 2020, which my screen for some reason can't scroll down enough. There it goes. So there's spring. So you just select that. And then when you request the course, usually within one business day, we'll get that up and send you some information about what it is that we've done, which is approve your course and add the students. We'll actually import the roster for you from the CUNY First data. And then we'll send you the handout that you can distribute to your students with the login information and with the uploading instructions. It will also actually include a link to the project setup instructions, which is the next thing I'm going to go through. But that's sort of the main step you need to do before your students can start uploading things. So I've created this webinar demo. There's nothing actually in this course yet. One important thing to know is just the setup course button up here once you've logged in is where a lot of the settings are going to be. So if you want to set up groups, that's here. If you want to add students that are maybe missed for some reason, it's very unlikely that would happen. Or if you want to create new projects, you can do that here. But since you haven't created a project, it will prompt you here to say, oh, it seems like you don't have anything in either the individual or group side. So it will ask you to go ahead and set up a project. So when you go to the project settings, I just used the prompt that it gave me, but it looks just like this if you go through the setup course option here. It will ask you for some basic information. So you're going to name the project. It asks for a short description. You can put the full project instructions there, but generally most faculty members actually send the instructions separately through whatever channel you typically use to distribute content to your students, whether that's Blackboard or Blogs at Baruch or just email. Rubric, if you've set up a rubric, you can use that here. You can also use, we have some system-wide Vocat rubrics that you can check out. I'll get to that in a little bit. Individual or group project is, are the students going to be uploading their own videos, or they're going to be working in groups and uploading as a group? Both. I don't recommend using both because it actually creates two separate projects as far as the student's concerned. So it just creates sort of a confusion point. That was originally created in case there were both sort of like some students working as individuals and some students working in groups, but we actually don't even recommend that in that situation now. Project due date, you can select a due date. It's just what it sounds. And then if you have a project due date, this option allows you to cut it off, a hard cutoff at the end of that day. And then may students attach media to submissions? By default, it is no. So by default, students can't attach, but now almost all professors who are using this choose to allow students to upload because it takes, the burden off of them to do it. And then below that, you have the media formats allowed. You can allow any format. You can specify if it's just an image, video, or audio project, you can do that. And then there's some project configuration options. So by default, the video is only visible to you and the student or group who uploaded it. And that also means that all the annotations and discussion comments are only visible to you and the students who uploaded it. If you click this option, it will mean that every student can see every other student's video and also annotate and comment on every other student's video. So it's a good way to have a discussion. If part of your assignment is to comment on other students' videos, that's an option. I would just say be aware that this means that even your annotations are visible to other students. So if you're having, if you're critiquing a student's video, but you also want students to comment on each other, just be aware that this is going to make that open to everyone. The next three options are rubric based. If you want peer review where the students are grading each other, you can also make that anonymous. And then there's self-evaluation if you want the students to evaluate their own video. And then the last thing is this project media thing that I'll get to in a second. So you save the project. And now when you go to the individual work, you'll see the project here at the top, the students down at the left. And anytime you log in and click into the course, this is what it will take you to. This is the course dashboard. And when students upload, you'll see a check mark in this media, under media here. If there's been feedback given, or if there's a number of comments, it will tell you how many there are. And so once you've set up the project and once you've requested the course and set up the project, that can sort of be the end of your interaction with Vocat until you are coming back to view the videos. So it can be as basic as you want. If you want to have more of a guide for your students, you can set that up. If you're going to do a lot more annotating, you can do that. But it can be as basic, or sort of your interaction with it can be as simple or as advanced as you want. There's the other option that we set up that may be especially useful for online work is in the projects. Now that I've saved this project, there will be an option when I go to edit it to do project media. So now there's this field down here, since this is already saved, called project media. It asks me if I want to add media to the project, and it looks exactly like the uploader that I showed you before. So if there's a video that you want every student of yours to be able to access, what this does is puts a video file into every student's project space. So where you saw those check marks on the dashboard, on the course dashboard, you would then, after you upload here, see a check mark on every student, because as far as the student sees, they would log in, it would show their project title, and then it would show this video. So this works in a couple of ways. If you want to have a video that you show your students that you've created just for all of them to view, this is a place to host it where it's not on YouTube or someplace publicly. It's also, if the assignment is for students to annotate a video, like there's something that you have that you want them to annotate to show that they understand some course concepts, or if you just want them to annotate a video to prove that they watched it, because obviously if they're time stamping annotations, or if they're annotating with timestamps, it's gonna prove that they actually went through the video. You can do that here. And there are a couple of options. Once you upload a video or embed a YouTube URL, you can either, by default, it will show up in their project and they will be able to annotate and only see their annotations. If you want them all annotating as a group, you can say collaboratively annotate the project media, and then they'll see all the other students' annotations as they watch the video. And that's helpful if it's a lecture, sort of to recreate in an asynchronous way the comments or discussion in the lecture. Or if you want the annotations, if the annotations are the assignment, if you want it to be more of a discussion than just them giving their own thoughts, that's an option as well. So once you've uploaded that, let me just add a file, see if I can find something. So this is the upload process. This is just it sending it to Vocat servers. So once it's uploaded, it's going to take a little bit of time to process and actually be visible on Vocat. So once it's done processing, all the students will actually see the test project. So right now it just shows as processing. So there's the project media, which means it's something that you've uploaded for them. And then there's the submission media, which is the students are uploading their own. So right now it's still processing. So that may take a few minutes, but that's really the main setup. And I've showed already the annotations in the comments. So that's kind of the main rundown of the features that people are typically using in Vocat for their courses. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Before we get to the questions, let me just pause the recording so people can ask their questions without having to have it.
Instructor, you have this rubrics option up at the top. And if you've never created a rubric, you won't see anything here, but you'll see these Vocat rubrics. that are system-wide rubrics that we've either put into the system or that other instructors have said it's okay to share. So you can click those and see if any of them actually look good or look similar to what you want. Because if you create a new rubric from scratch, it's going to ask you really to create it from scratch. Like it's going to ask for the ranges of like, this is subpar, okay, good. And then the criteria that you're going to be grading on. And then you'll fill out what those ranges define. I'm just going to do a very brief one here. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go along. So as you're editing, as you're filling this out, this is going to create sort of the scale that you can grade on, and you can edit these descriptions to show your students what exactly each of these criteria means. But if you'd rather not create a rubric from scratch, you can look through existing rubrics, and if there's one that looks good, like if this rubric looks close to what you're talking about, and the criteria, you know, content, audience, cohesion, delivery, if those look good to you, you can actually clone the rubric and it creates a copy of it in your own as one of your own rubrics, and then you can just click into any of these and edit it to suit your class. So it kind of gives you a shortcut to create a rubric. And like I said, you can use this to grade on your own, or you can use this to have your students evaluate each other or themselves. So that is an option if you want to do it that way. Like I said, most faculty members, since we're already into the semester, you probably have a way that you're already grading. So it's probably easier just to stick with that rather than having something graded directly in Vocat, but that's up to you. Are there any questions about rubrics? I don't want to get too deep into it because we've got a lot of, still want to get to blogs at Baruch, and I don't want to get into something that's not used a ton, but. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Christopher and stop sharing my screen here.